Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. Let's move on to politics, and there's so much going on. The Guardian on Theresa May and Brexit. A Prime Minister gone rogue. Mrs. May has asked the European Council to extend the Brexit deadline to 30th June, by which point she hopes that the UK Parliament will have stopped obstructing her deal. And that takes me back to John Bercow, the speaker, who finally, I think, guillotined a Theresa May Groundhog Day and essentially asserted House of Commons control over 10 Downing Street. And I was at school very close by, and actually they're within a stone's throw of each other, which takes me further and makes me feel that the decider on Brexit is in the Élysée Palace, and it's Emmanuel Macron. The French foreign minister, if May cannot offer guarantees her Brexit deal will be passed in the British Parliament, the European Council will turn down her extension request. I wrote about Macron last week, who was visiting Kenya and was the first French president to visit an independent Kenya. He came here and unveiled the locally assembled Peugeot and had President Kenyatta take him for a spin in it. The Peugeot 504 was surely the most iconic car brand of all time in Africa. How bad are things getting for Donald Trump? Asks the Palmer report. He picked a fight with a dead guy, and the dead guy won. I wrote about my trip to Garissa, and in that trip I said it is worth noting that US airstrikes in Somalia have, however, flown off the charts. And according to Amnesty, US strikes in Somalia have tripled under Trump. But the US Africa Command says it has killed 0 civilians. Amnesty went to Somalia and analyzed the evidence. AFRICOM themselves say they conducted 110 airstrikes in Somalia, eliminating more than 800 terrorists. I concluded my article about Garissa saying, this pacification, or is it decapitation strategy of the Al-Shabaab has not borne results. This caught my attention. A biker gang provides an escort to a hearse transporting the coffin of Haji Muhammad Dawood Nabi, killed in New Zealand's twin mosque attacks, to the Memorial Park Cemetery in Christchurch. And I'm going to come back to this point, but this is why I'm such an admirer of Jacinta, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. In that, she's trying to disrupt the narrative, that right-wing narrative. The bikers are not expected to condole with the Muslims. He is a terrorist, he is a criminal, he is an extremist, but he will, when I speak, be nameless. And that's what I mean about her narrative control. She's vowed never to utter the name of the twin mosque gunman to deprive him of the publicity he craved. And we've spoken about the publicity that these people crave. I spoke about it in 2013 when I was writing about the brothers Saneev. And I quoted Albert Camus' L'Étranger, where he says the Byronic hero, and that's what they think they are, but they're not. Incapable of love, or capable of an impossible love, suffers endlessly. He is solitary, languid, his condition exhausts him. If he wants to feel alive, it must be in the terrible exaltation of a brief, destructive action. Then go to Don DeLillo. I used to think it was possible for an artist to alter the inner life of the culture. Now bomb makers and gunmen have taken that territory. This is the point where Jacinda Ardern is trying to push back on. She's trying to assert narrative control. It's really remarkable. Hasn't been seen before. This catastrophic event changes the way we think and act moment to moment, week to week, for unknown weeks and months to come. In steely years, our world, parts of our world have crumbled into theirs, which means we're living in a place of danger and rage. Terror's response is a narrative that has been developing over the years, only now becoming inescapable. It is our lives and minds that are occupied now. This catastrophic event changes the way we think and act moment to moment, week to week, for unknown weeks and months to come and steely years. Our world, parts of our world, have crumbled into theirs, which means we're living in a place of danger and rage. The irony was this attack was carried out in Christchurch. The Prime Minister of New Zealand has warned social media companies over their role in spreading the video of the attack, saying they are the publisher, not just the postman. A powerful sentence there. And I was asking in 2012, when there was that chap called Basile in Florida who lit the Quran and caused this situation in Libya, and I was saying, what are the consequences of this new 21st century madding crowd? A madding crowd which can be inflamed by a fellow with a camera and an account with YouTube. I said there are plenty of flamethrowers in a population of 7 billion. Basile has shown that the 21st century equivalent of throwing the match is a camera and the knowledge of how to upload content onto YouTube. The consequences of throwing a match onto a tinderbox are entirely unpredictable by their nature. Donations are being sought for the boys' defense and to buy more eggs. Latest PR firm hired by the Saudis to polish their image post-Khashoggi has a rather unfortunate name, Carve Communications. US imports of Venezuelan crude last week plunged to zero, a first in weekly data available since 2010. Monthly data doesn't show any zero month since at least 1973. Maduro, as I've said before, is going down just like Muammar did, and as did Saddam. The edge, there is no honest way to explain it, but Maduro is definitely there, because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over. I said the Chavez Revolution was always a rebellion in the superpower's backyard, and the machine was eventually going to bring it to heel by hook or by crook. The Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu is seen meeting with President Bashar al-Assad in Damascus. That photograph is from Oscok. And I concluded by saying this is the first time the merchants of regime change have been repelled, probably ever. The Syrian presidency, the Kremlin, Iran, it would be churlish not to recognize this geopolitical trend change.